Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel, and I am excited for this show tonight, where we have a great show ahead for you guys. We're talking all things Four Nations Face-Off, which is a tournament held by the NHL that's going to go on next season in February of next year. So why are we talking about it now? Well, I've seen a lot around social media, a lot of news outlets like TSN, just NHL.com, ESPN, the New York Times. All of these major outlets are weighing in on their projected lineup. So I thought, hey, I have a platform here. Why not give you guys my projected lineups for each of the four teams for the Four Nations Face-Off? And it's the off season, so what better time to do it than now? We are going to be spending the bulk of today talking about that. Our first four segments of the day here are going to be talking about the Four Nations Face-Off. This is the first time I've ever really did a bulk show, so let me know if you guys enjoy this kind of form of content. I'm going to use the first segment talking about the USA lineup, the second segment talking about Canada, third segment talking about Finland, third segment Sweden, fourth segment Finland, and then my fifth and final segment, I'm going to continue my series talking about season previews for my teams following in alphabetical order. We are on the Calgary Flames tonight. So with that all being said, if you guys want to help support the show in more ways than you already do, and we do get a lot of questions that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read live on air, use the GSMCpodcast.net tips and donations link. That would be much appreciated. It helps support the creators here at the GSMC Sports Network. And without further ado, we're going to get right into this with the first segment of the night. Four Nations Face-Off, Team USA. Here are the forwards projection for Team USA, and these are my projections. I did use TSN, the New York Times, and NHL.com to come up with these lists. So all of these lists or graphics are kind of helped on by them, but these are my thoughts. These are how I would have these teams. So let me just talk about this. Brady Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk. It's going to be my first line. And yes, there are better quality players probably than Brady Tkachuk to put on that first line left wing. Maybe a Tage Thompson. I can hear you out. Maybe if you like Kyle Connor more to put on that first line left wing. So why do I go with Brady Tkachuk? Well, I really like the idea of the Tkachuk brothers being on the same line together. I think that would be very special for the Tkachuk family, for Keith Tkachuk, their dad, to see being on the same line and being with Austin Matthews, I think is very great. Brady Tkachuk, of course, drafted by the Senators. Austin Matthews drafted by the Maple Leafs, and Matthew Tkachuk drafted by the Calgary Flames. Three Canadian teams. Of course, Matthew Tkachuk now is in Florida. However, that is not where he was drafted. So having a first line like this, I think is really cool, and I really like the idea. I think that's the direction that Team USA might even go in. I think that it would make a lot of sense. Austin Matthews is the number one center. He probably will also have the C for this tournament, which just makes sense. He is the best player that Team USA has right now. One of the best American forwards of all time, up there with Patrick Kane as well. And it just makes sense for him to be the number one center. Next up, the second line. Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Clayton Keller is a fantastic second line. Would be probably one of the best lines in hockey. Jack Eichel, of course, from the Boston area, going up with Kyle Connor I believe from the Michigan area. I know he went to Michigan for college, and then Clayton Keller, I think, would be a fantastic second line. Clayton Keller, a star for the Coyotes, Eichel, a star for the Vegas Golden Knights, and Kyle Connor, an absolute star for the Winnipeg Jets. That top six is one of the best top six I've seen the Team USA have in a very long time, which makes me even more excited about that. Of course, being American, you guys can see the bald eagles on the GSMC logo up at the top of the screen here. I would just be very excited for that, and I think it's very great. Third line here now, Tage Thompson, Jack Hughes, and Jake Gensel. This is another fantastic line, and honestly, all three of these top lines, maybe even all four of these lines, can kind of be interchanged. I just really like how this line plays. You have the absolute sniper in Tage Thompson. You have Jack You have Jack Hughes that plays a very fantastic two-way kind of playmaking style of game, a good center to have on a line with Tage Thompson. And then Jake Gensel, who can just kind of do it all on the ice. We've seen him do so much with Sidney Crosby as his center. He's been able to score goals, but he's also been able to have a lot of assists throughout his career. So I like Jake Gensel as the third guy on this line on the right wing. It fits his handedness. I really like it a lot. Next up on the fourth line, the young kid, Jason Robertson, Vincent Trocheck, and JT Miller. I think that is a fantastic fourth line. I don't know notable names that would be left off of this forward group, but I really like how this forward group looks just as is. JT Miller is a first-line winger for the Vancouver Canucks. And he's looking like he's going to be on the fourth line for Team USA. That means that this team is so stacked just offensively. It's going to play so well. I'm excited for it. We saw it play well in the IIHF competition last over the summer. However, it did not have Austin Matthews on that team. Matthew Tkachuk wasn't on that team. Other notable names that weren't on that team was Jason Robertson, of course, with the Stars. Vincent Trocheck wasn't there. JT Miller wasn't there. So a lot of notable names left out, and a lot of guys that are fantastic players. I think Kyle Connor wasn't on that team as well. For the forwards, I really like how Team USA looks. Moving on to the defensemen. And the defensemen look fantastic. I think this is the strongest defensive core we've ever seen in America. Fantastic. Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, those two are absolute superstars. And I think that they play off of each other perfectly. Quinn Hughes has such a high motor offensively, and Charlie McAvoy does not turn over the puck a lot and can play very well on the defensive end, but also brings amazing work offensively. Imagine on a power play as well. Quinn Hughes on the first line power play, quarterbacking that with Austin Matthews, Tage Thompson, Matthew Tkachuk, and then whoever you want to toss out there to be kind of that net front presence can really fill in that role. Whether it's going to be a Jack Eichel, which I think that could be fantastic. But the special teams I think work the best for Team USA. But I think also when you just look, when it's 5-on-5, what team is matching up to that top line? We'll talk about it. Who can? I believe Canada has some fantastic players on that team, but all over the place, it is just superstars for Team USA. So Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy is the top pairing defenseman, with Jacob Slavin and Adam Fox being the second pair for the defense. I was actually kind of shocked to see that Jacob Slavin is American or plays for Team USA. That is such an European name. I've known in the past that he's American, like I've seen it before, and I think I've been shocked at it before, but just seeing that again doing this graphic was again a shock for me. And then Adam Fox. This guy is a fantastic defenseman, and he's going to play amazing on this team. I had the chance to give Jacob Trouba and Adam Fox to the defense, a defensive pair, the New York Rangers defensive pair there, but I decided to kind of split them up. I think this works very well with Slavin and Fox being kind of that two-way defenseman, offensive defenseman, kind of the same with Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy, offensive defenseman on the left, two-way defenseman on the right, and then Brock Faber and Jacob Trouba are two fantastic defensemen that just play the game in almost perfectly, play it very well. And then the strength of this team is, of course, the goaltenders. America has the second best goaltending trio in the world, behind probably only Russia. And you're never going to contend with Russia and goalies. They're kind of known for churning out goalies. And, now is no different with Shesterkin, Sorokin, and Bobrovsky all being Russian. But they're not in this competition. So in this competition, the best goaltending tandem has to go to America, and we'll be looking at the goaltending tandem of every single. There is a team in this competition that the goalies are really worrisome and could be the reason that they are not the favorites. Team USA, however, with Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, and Thatcher Demko, is just stacked, all three of them. Connor Hellebuck coming off of a Vezina Trophy candidacy. Jake Ottinger, another guy that's a perennial Vezina Trophy candidate, always turning it up in high-pressure situation, plays fantastically in playoff scenarios. And then Thatcher Demko, who looked amazing this season before his injury in the playoffs. Like, he was playing some fantastic hockey, helping the Vancouver Canucks be one of the best teams in the Western Conference. So that's Team USA. I think, we're going to talk about strengths and weaknesses with all these teams. The strength for Team USA is how deep this team is. Just overall, top to bottom, I love it. I think it plays fantastic. I mean, when Jack Hughes is your third-line center, the team is fantastic. Where am I worried about? Well, I might be a little bit worried about the lack of defensive-minded players on this team. Yes, you have Matthew Tkachuk and you have Jacob Trouba, but when you go back to this forward core, who's the real defensive-minded guys? Matthew Tkachuk. Vincent Trocheck, maybe? Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. You don't have those guys. You know who's killing penalties? Is it going to be Jack Eichel and Matthew Tkachuk killing penalties? I don't think I really like Jack Eichel as a penalty killer. Second line PK, is it like Kyle Connor and Austin Matthews, just because you want to put Austin Matthews out there on the ice? Like, I honestly don't know what that looks like. So I would be worried about the PK. I would be a little worried about more defensive scenarios. But you have to, the old additive in hockey, your best penalty killer is your goaltender. And when you have guys like Hellebuck, Ottinger, Demko as your goalies, I did give Connor Hellebuck the starting goalie here, but I could absolutely see the Otter getting there, and Demko honestly can start some games as well in this tournament. I'm excited for this for Team USA. I think this is one of the most stacked we've seen Team USA's roster. So that'll wrap it up for the first segment, talking about Team USA. When I come back from my break, we'll be talking all things Team Canada for the Four Nations face-off.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our second segment of the night, talking about the Four Nations Face-Off Team Canada edition, talking about the projected lineups for all four teams here. But if you want to become a bigger part of the show, I would like to remind you guys again that if you want to help support the GSMC Podcast Network in more ways than you already do just by tuning in to this show, use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. It goes a long way to help support the guys here at the GSMC Sports Network. They all deserve it as well. So with that being said, we're going to get into this next segment talking about Team Canada now. So the forwards for Team Canada, well, I mean, it looks very, very good. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm going to be completely biased. I am American. I was born in Ohio, the great US of A. And I'm, of course, going to be rooting for Team USA in this tournament. I can help with that. I just am biased. But looking at this Canada forward group, I can say that this is scary. I mean, you have... come around this tournament next year. This is what I have. Again, as I said, for Team USA. These are my projections. I did use TSN, New York Times, and NHL.com to help with these groups, but I put the teams together myself here. Sam Reinhart, Connor McDavid, and Connor Bedard is the first line. Yes, I went with Connor Bedard on the first line. I went with Connor Bedard on the first line over Mitch Marner because, I mean, could you imagine a line of McDavid and Bedard? Wouldn't that just be absolutely ridiculous? This first line is not playing defense. I promise you that. But they don't need to play defense. This first line is going to score some goals. McDavid and Bedard on the same line. Like, truly, the two greatest prospects I've ever watched with my own two eyes. When McDavid was coming up in 2014-15, he was the best prospect I've ever seen in my life. And then when Bedard last year or 2 years ago was coming up, I mean, goodness gracious, he was fantastic. And he still is. Turned out to be one of the best first-year players that I've seen in a very long time. And now these guys have the chance to be on the same line. Yes, that bumps Mitch Marner down, but look at this second line for Team Canada. Matthew Barzal, one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. Nathan MacKinnon, probably one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. And then Mitch Marner, one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. Matthew Barzal, one of the best playmakers in the NHL. Nathan MacKinnon, one of the best all-around offensive talents that the league has seen in quite some time. And Mitch Marner has just proven to be such a fantastic addition to any first line on a team. And now he's playing with MacKinnon and Barzal. Yeah, they're going to score some goals. Now to the third line. Zach Hyman, coming off of a 50-goal season. Sid the Kid Crosby, coming off of an 80-some point season, another point-per-game season, and then Brady Point, a first line for the two-time Cup-winning Tampa Bay Lightning. Yes, I'm hyping up this team because it looks fantastic. I mean, look at this. The forward group is insane. Sam Reinhart, 94 points last year. Connor McDavid, 100 assists last year. Connor Bedard just won the Calder and one of the best rookies we've seen in a very, very long time. Matthew Barzal can put up 100 points in a season if he gets players around him ever in his career. Nathan MacKinnon just won the Hart Trophy with 140 points. Mitch Marner, 100-point season playing next to a 60, almost 70 goal scorer in Austin Matthews. That's a top six. Then you're looking at this third line. 50 goal scoring Zach Hyman. Sidney Crosby's fantastic. Braden Point's fantastic. Coming off of a season, Braden Point, where he just played alongside of Nikita Kucherov that just had an 100 assist season and 144 points in Nikita Kucherov. That's your line mate. That means you're playing well as well. And then your fourth line, 3-time Cup winner Carter Verhaeghe. Mark Scheifele, who is the captain of the Winnipeg Jets, an absolute bull on this team, and Robert Thomas, a fantastic player for the St. Louis Blues. Team Canada has never had a forward problem, and this just goes to show that they will never have a forward problem. Just for the next 10 years, they have McDavid, Bedard on their team. And then for the next 5 years, they have McDavid, Bedard, McKinnon. They could honestly, and I would not argue against this because they have the center depth to do this. And I legitimately thought about this. Putting McKinnon on the first line left wing, switching Matthew Barzal to the second line center, and bumping Sam Reinhart down to the third line left wing and having Hyman play at the second line left wing. That would mean having McKinnon, McDavid, Bedard. I wouldn't want to face that. McKinnon, McDavid, Bedard. Are we is that a joke? Is that a joke? Because that is insane. And then having a line of Hyman, Barzal, Marner. Is that a joke? 50 goal scorer Hyman with a fantastic passer in both Barzal and Marner, and then having Sam Reinhart, Sidney Crosby, Braden Point would absolutely be ridiculous. This team has a lot of the Florida guys. It has Reinhart, it has Point, it has Verhaeghe, and I think that it goes well for this team. This team looks fantastic. It does have a leaf, so I am a little bit worried about them having playoff success because they do have a maple leaf on their team. No, that's just a joke. But yeah, this team is fantastic. For group-wise, it is unbelievable. Now moving on to the defense. Still great. Devin Tays, Cale Makar. That defensive pair won a Stanley Cup in 2022. Shea Theodore, Evan Bouchard. Well, Shea Theodore won a Stanley Cup last year with the Vegas Golden Knights, and Evan Bouchard almost won a Stanley Cup this year with the Edmonton Oilers. They were one game away from doing so. And then Owen Power and Alex Pietrangelo. That's good. That's really, really good. And especially if Owen Power takes the jump that we all expect him to take next season. Former number 1 overall pick in 2021. I do expect big things out of him. That looks insane. Now, just comparing the defensive core with Team USA, we do see Team USA's defensive core have, Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy. I think that is unbelievably comparable, the top two there. I think Charlie McAvoy and Devin Tays can be pretty comparable. Maybe you give the edge to the Charlie McAvoy. And then Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, is that not an age-old debate? Well, age-old, 3 years old debate, but still, nonetheless, those two guys will be battling their entire careers for that best defenseman in the NHL. And then you have guys like Shea Theodore and Evan Bouchard. Bouchard, one of the best last shots. Shea Theodore plays such a great two-way game. Owen Power, a fantastic offensive defenseman. Alex Pietrangelo, a fantastic two-way defenseman. Shea Theodore, Evan Bouchard going up against the defensive pair of Adam Fox and Jacob Slavin. That is very comparable as well. I think I do give the edge to the Canadian pair there. And then Owen Power and Alex Pietrangelo going up against Jacob Trouba and somebody that is completely blank. I mean, I could just go back 2 slides to figure it out, honestly. And Brock Faber, which I think honestly is pretty comparable there. Owen Power and Brock Faber, both very young defensemen. As you can see, I did elect to go with kind of a young defenseman on both sides here. I just think it makes sense. Brock Faber being Minnesota Wild, young guy, and Owen Power being for the Buffalo Sabres, a young guy. And then Alex Pietrangelo and Jacob Trouba are very comparable as well. Next up, talking about goalies, and I think that this is where Team Canada really lacks. Devin Levi, Stuart Skinner, and Darcy Kemper. Not good. Long gone are the days of Carey Price as your goaltender, and now you're gonna kind of struggle without it. Like I'm having Devin Levi be the top goaltender in the nation. I really, really don't like that. If I were a Canadian rooting for Team Canada here, I would be pretty scared just because of this goaltending core. Especially going up against, on the other side, Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, Thatcher Demko. I mean, ridiculous from Team USA, but it's not good. Stuart Skinner just led a team to a Stanley Cup playoff or Stanley Cup final, so I mean, could be good. Who knows? But I honestly wouldn't hold my breath if I was rooting for Team Canada here. One of the things that does stand out to me is how fantastic this power play is going to be. First line power play, I would have Cale Makar shotgunning it with Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, Nathan McKinnon, and Mitch Marner on it. Yeah, that'll play. That would absolutely play. Next up, you have Evan Bouchard being the quarterback. I said shotgun on both times. I meant to say quarterbacking. Quarterbacking the power play would be Evan Bouchard for their second power play line with Sam Reinhart, Zach Hyman, Sidney Crosby, and either Matthew Barzal or Braden Point. I mean, take your pick there. You could also toss in a Carter Verhaeghe if you want to like to do that instead of Braden Point. I wouldn't be against that, absolutely. That's unbelievable. That truly, truly is unbelievable. Their power, don't take penalties against these guys. I promise you it won't end well. And their PK is going to be pretty good too. With guys like Mark Scheifele on the team, Carver Hagee has proven to be a good PK guy. Sorry, I completely... There it is. Carver Hagee has proven to be a good PK guy. I know Braden Point has in the past been a good PK guy. I mean, Nathan McKinnon, Sam Reinhart, these guys can all kill penalties for you in a high quality capacity. So I really like Team Canada, except for the goalies. I think that is what they're missing the most, of course, is goaltending. So that'll wrap it up for the second segment. We'll be coming back talking about Team Sweden in our third segment of the night when I come back from my second break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're moving on to our third segment of the night, continuing the Four Nations face-off team projections with Team Sweden. Here are the forward groups for Team Sweden with this graphic. If you're listening to audio, I will get to giving out their names. But before I talk about this forward group, as you guys can see it on the screen if you want to read it out, this Team Sweden team truly is the best I've ever seen Sweden be in history. I would be very excited for this Four Nations face-off if I was Sweden, especially with how many young guys can really improve for this team to get amazing. I would be so excited if I was Swedish here for this tournament. They could definitely make a splash. They could definitely win this one, upset. Canada's probably going to be the favorites, but honestly, if I'm looking at the teams on paper, I think USA probably would be my favorites. Completely biased. I'm not going to lie with you guys. I'm American. I'll be the first one to admit that. But yeah, for Team Sweden, it's fantastic. Philip Forsberg, Elias Pettersson, and William Nylander is your first line. Common theme here: the Maple Leafs boys are towards the top on all these three teams. They're going to be playing across these teams with Matthews, first line center of America, Marner, second line right wing for the second line right wing for Canada, and then William Nylander playing first line right wing for Team Sweden. All of these guys are pretty fantastic superstars in their own right, but when it comes to team hockey in Toronto, it just hasn't been able to get done. But yeah, for Team Sweden, but Forsberg, Elias Pettersson, William Nylander. Let me tell you how I envision this going. Forsberg is going to score a lot of goals. Elias Pettersson is going to pass a lot and hook these guys up, and William Nylander is going to just play for rebounds, play fantastic hockey, just play low in the crease, getting to the right spot, playing well, and finding Philip Forsberg is going to score a lot of goals in this tournament, and I'm excited for him. He's one of my favorite players in the NHL, has stuck it out in Nashville for a very long time. Now they put a team around him. I'd be very excited for the future for Philip Forsberg. Then, second line, Adrian Kempe, Mika Zibanejad, Lucas Raymond. Adrian Kempe has been the first line for the LA Kings for a very long time. Mika Zibanejad, one of the best forwards in the NHL, always good for 100 points. And then Lucas Raymond, kind of coming into his own for the Detroit Red Wings of the past couple of years, has looked fantastic. I'd be very excited to see this kid in international competition on the biggest stage. We haven't seen the Detroit Red Wings make the playoffs yet after their rebuild, which I think is officially over with their playoff push last season. This year, I think they do it, and I think it's a lot because of the help that they get from Lucas Raymond. He's a fantastic player. Next up, third line, Gabriel Landeskog. This, of course, is contingent on him coming back and playing for the Avalanche, and I could completely understand if he decides to sit out in this tournament. He is probably the one guy that I would expect to not be here more than I do expect him to be here when it comes around to tournament time. But for Gabriel Landeskog, he is a fantastic forward that said in an interview that he's working to get back. He believes that he can be back during the season next season, and whether that's February, we don't know yet, but I would expect him to be back by then. Of course, hasn't played since the Colorado Avalanche have won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago now. It's been a very long time without Gabriel Landeskog playing hockey. The hockey world's a better place when this guy is playing. You do miss seeing him in the NHL every day, but yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back, I believe, by this tournament. I'm no doctor, so I can't say officially, but yeah, I would count on it. Elias Lindholm being that's in the center there, I mean, not what he's used to in Nathan McKinnon, but Elias Lindholm is gonna have a good season in Boston. I can be pretty sure of it. After a kind of rough second half of the year in Vancouver last year, put it together in the playoffs, and now on the Bruins, can definitely make some noise over there. Gonna probably plug into that first line center role and be used a lot by the Bruins this season. Jesper Bratt then on the right wing. Jesper Bratt is a first line guy for the New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils are definitely represented well here with Jesper Bratt, with Jack Hughes. Of course, Nico Hischier is not going to be here. He is Swiss, so he is not going to be in this tournament, as Switzerland is not one of the top 4 nations in the world right now in hockey. I don't think they ever will be. Although they've definitely had a lot of quality, the Swiss has. But they just haven't had, a team of quality guys yet. Next up, William Karlsson. Joel Eriksson Ek and Leo Carlsson makes up my fourth line. Leo Carlsson, second-year player now going into a sophomore year with the Ducks. I'm excited for this guy's future. I think as a prospect, he was fantastic. Playing on a line with Joel Eriksson Ek, former first-round pick, William Karlsson. Guys played fantastic for the Vegas Golden Knights ever since he went over there from the Columbus Blue Jackets during the expansion draft. Really good decision by the Vegas Golden Knights picking up this kid, because he's been one of the best players for them in their history. And let me tell you, I noticed something while making these lines, that there is a lot of double S's in the Swedish names. Look, Karlsson, Eriksson, Ek, Leo Carlsson, Pettersson, and then the defense, like almost all of them have double S's in their names, but we'll get to that when I go to the next one here. I definitely knew that before, but just, typing it all out, I really noticed it, and it was like another double S. Oh, okay, that's different. But yeah. Anyways, I got sidetracked there. But I think that's a great fourth line. William Karlsson's very fast. Joel Eriksson Ek is fast. Leo Carlsson is a great skater. And I think that line plays some great two-way hockey as well. Going to be a good just fourth line for these guys for Sweden. Next up, talking about the defense and the goalie, and as I was saying, look, Anderson, Carlsson, Gustafsson, just like all of them. But anyways, I'm distracted. Rasmus Anderson, Rasmus Dahlin. Yes, there are 3 Rasmuses in this defensive core. A lot of repeating names as well. Carlsson, Rasmus, Anderson, whatever it might be. The Swedes aren't very imaginative with their naming. I'm sidetracked right now. Anyways, let me get back. Rasmus Anderson, Rasmus Dahlin is a fantastic defensive pair for Sweden. Gonna play. Rasmus Dahlin is one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Rasmus Anderson plays some fantastic hockey. Next, Victor Hedman and Erik Karlsson. That's if it was 5 years ago, that would be the best defensive pair possible. But it's not 5 years ago. Probably more than 5 years ago by now, huh? 2019 makes some sense. I keep on getting sidetracked. My ADHD is really kicking in right now. Anyways, Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson is a fantastic defensive pair. Couldn't match up with the likes of, Adam Fox and Jakub Slavin and Shea Theodore and Evan Bouchard. I didn't need to go back. I have a good memory. Jonas Brodin and Rasmus Sandin is going to be the final or the bottom six for this Swedish defense. I think that if there is a weakness to this team, it might be that. With Linus Ullmark, Jacob Markstrom, and Philip Gustafsson in net as well, I think that is a fantastic goalie tandem. A lot better than Canadian. The Canadian goalie tandem with Devon Levi, Stuart Skinner, and Darcy Kemper. I like Linus Ullmark a lot. Of course, former Vezina winner Jacob Markstrom just got traded over to the New Jersey Devils to help that team win now. Clearly, at least one franchise believes that that's a fantastic starting goaltender, and I do believe so as well. And Philip Gustafsson is a good third option in net. So Team Sweden looks really good. What is the strength on this team? I would say just how well-rounded it is. I mean, look at this forward core. There's not really a weakness. Maybe if you want to say Leo Carlsson, but by this time next season, this kid could absolutely be a superstar. I mean, I expect a lot of growth from him, and I just wouldn't be too shocked if he becomes one of the best players in the NHL with just what his ceiling was coming out of the draft last year, and then just seeing him do his thing all throughout last year. He looks really good, Leo Carlsson, and that's going to be your fourth line right winger. And then looking all throughout this defensive core and goalies, I mean, the depth and the quality that Sweden has right now, just 18 skaters and a goalie just all look really good. And then I would say the weakness is Jonas Brodin and Rasmus Sandin, but that's still a fantastic defensive pairing. I wouldn't be too worried about that coming back to haunt you. I think that Team Sweden looks really good on paper, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them finish above Canada in this tournament. So that'll wrap it up for the third segment talking about Team Sweden. When I come back from my third break of the night, we'll be talking about Team Finland in this Four Nations face-off.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our fourth segment of the night talking about Team Finland in this Four Nations face-off tournament. Going on to their forward core, before I talk about their forward core, I would say that this team is probably right now 4th out of 4. I think that Sweden can't. Oh my goodness, I'm struggling tonight. I apologize. Sweden, Canada, and USA are 3 of the best teams we've seen internationally in a very long time. All 3 teams have bona fide superstars all over the place. Now, when it comes to Team Finland, it is more of a team. And I want to stress that. When we're looking at this team, honestly, it's put together like how an NHL team kind of would be, with more quality in depth than an NHL team. This is a team that would win a Stanley Cup, absolutely. All of these teams are teams that would win a Stanley Cup. That's kind of what international competition is. But when we're talking about in this tournament, I think that this is the the 4th out of 4 teams here. With Teuvo Teravainen, Alexander Barkov, and Mikko Rantanen on the first line, honestly, that might be the best first line in this tournament. And I'm saying that this is the 4th best team in the tournament. Teuvo Teravainen is one of my favorite players in the NHL. I think he plays the game at a very high level. Alexander Barkov is the best two-way forward in the game right now. 2-time Selke winner, coming off of a Stanley Cup championship, coming off of Stanley Cup champions with the Florida Panthers. He's absolutely deserving on the first line center over Sebastian Aho, and Mikko Rantanen on the first line right wing, who is one of the best forwards in the NHL as well. That's unbelievable. Like, truly, it could be the best first line that we have in this tournament, with Nathan MacKinnon playing on the second line without McDavid and Bedard. I think if you put McDavid on that, or put McKinnon on that first line, you can't put together a better first line unless you have Draisaitl instead of Connor Bedard. But even then, I mean, like, Connor Bedard's pretty good. But first line, Teuvo Teravainen, Alexander Barkov, Mikko Rantanen looks amazing. Second line, Arturi Lehkonen, another Avalanche. Sebastian Aho and Patrick Laine, if he can. Another guy that currently can't play hockey right now. Different reasons for Gabriel Landeskog. Gabriel Landeskog has, injury that's holding him back. Patrick Laine has, his mental health is holding him back. Always want to see him get better. Hoping that he gets better. Always love to see him playing hockey, whether it's for the Blue Jackets, for the team I have grown up supporting, or another team. Still just want to see him out there on the ice playing the game that he fell in love with to start. But with that being said, I do have him on that second line right wing. We don't know what level of Patrick Laine we will get back when he does come back to the game, but look, he's one of the best forwards in the NHL when he's playing. When he's on, when it's his day, he is one of the best forwards in the NHL. And I think he just needs to remind a lot of people about that, because a lot of people are kind of forgetting about it nowadays. Eetu Luostarinen, who's coming off of the Stanley Cup, Roope Hintz, and Kasperi Kapanen is the third line. I really like that third line a lot. Maybe Kasperi Kapanen and Jesperi Kotkaniemi can switch, but I do like Kasperi Kapanen a little bit more. Matthias Machelli, Anton Lundell, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi is the fourth line for Team Finland. I really like that fourth line also. The team is a team here in Finland. It has a little bit more of a drop off in the depth that we don't see teams like we don't see in Canada. We don't see it in Team USA. Like, Vincent Trocheck is on the fourth line of Team USA, but he plays on the top, and at least top 6 always for the New York Rangers, whether that's on that first line or not. He is still on that top 6 for the New York Rangers. And Anton Lundell is more of a third line guy for the Florida Panthers. This team, however, is very Florida Panthers heavy. You have Eetu Luostarinen, you have Anton Lundell, and you have Alexander Barkov, all of them Florida Panthers. It is also pretty Hurricane heavy. Well, not anymore with Teravainen not being on that team, but Teravainen, Aho, and Kotkaniemi, you can make up an entire Finnish line there. I decided to not go with that because, of course, Teuvo is not on that team anymore. So, going into our final defensive and goalie setup here for this the projection on this tournament. You have Esa Lindell and Miro Heiskanen, who that is fantastic. 2 Dallas Stars defensemen that play this game at such a high level. A fantastic defensive pairing for the Dallas Stars. You could have also made an argument for Thomas Harley over in USA. I decided to go different directions there, but I do feel like that could be mentioned. Nico Mikola and Henry Jokiharju make up the second defensive pairing, and this is where you find a little bit of a fall off. I'm not gonna lie here. I do think that the defensive core is the worst here in Finland than it is elsewhere, but that doesn't that is why I think that this team is 4 out of 4 right now. But Nico Mikola just won a Stanley Cup. Like, he's a fantastic player. Rasmus Ristolainen on his day is a fantastic player. Juuso Valimaki is a fantastic player. For those audio listeners that can't see the graphic on the screen right now, Juuso Valimaki and Rasmus Ristolainen are the two on the bottom pairing. Then you have Jussi Saros, Ukko-Pekka Lehkonen, and Joonas Korpisalo in net for Team Finland. this Finnish team is fantastic. Like truly, I with me saying that it is the 4th out of 4 teams, it's not a knock to them. It's just the other 3 teams are fantastic, and Team Finland is just, I mean, they are what they are, right? If they play to their potential, right? If, like, this 4 group, let's take it back to the 4 group here. If this 4 group of Rantanen, Laine, Aho, Arturi Lehkonen, Rupe Hintz, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Anton Lundell all play up to their potential and can all hit their ceiling in this tournament at the same time, man, it can be special. Especially with Aho and Laine on the line. Like, are you kidding me? That could be gross. But we don't know what we just don't know what Patrick Laine we're gonna get in this tournament. We don't know what level of Kasperi Kapanen, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Matthias Machelli. Like, we don't know the levels that we're gonna be getting here. So it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. So if I did have to give a weakness, it would be that this team is a little bit too reliant on too reliant on the only word that's coming into my head right now is wishy-washy. But I think you guys know what I'm trying to say here. Two inconsistent forwards and 2 inconsistent players. When they hit their ceiling, man, it could definitely look special, and they can definitely win this tournament and prove me wrong here, but as things stand right now, I just think that their floor is a little bit lower than the other team's floor. I think it is significantly lower than the other team's floor, to be honest. So when I'm looking at, these projected lineups, when I look at all these teams, what really stands out to me, well, it's the American goaltending, I think, is the best goaltending tandem that there is in the tournament. I also really love their entire forward core. I think it is fantastic. Team Canada has the best superstars, right? The high-end talent is always going to be from Canada. We talk about it a lot, whether it's, their hockey, how they progress hockey players from a youth level is better than any other country in the world. We've known it for a very long time. That's why you get talents from there that are Bedard, McDavid, Mitch Marner, whatever it may be, Crosby of old. You have Tavares, Stamkos, that didn't even make Team Canada's lineup. I begrudgingly left them off, but I think it just makes sense where they're at in their career that they're not going to be in this tournament. I think for Team Canada, you had the high-end talent. For Sweden, overall, as a team, up and down, the team has very little weaknesses, maybe even no weaknesses. Honestly, their depth on that team is fantastic. Their goalie tandem is fantastic. The bottom pairing defensemen are pretty good. Just all over the ice, it looks very special what they built in Sweden. I think that team is going to be really good. And then in Team Finland, I think their ceiling is so high, but I also think their floor is so low. It's going to be interesting in this tournament to see how the special teams work, but that's a coach's job. I'm no coach. I'll be the first to admit that. So I can't wait to see how that plays out. That this tournament's only like 7 months away, so I'm excited to see how this shapes up. I think that it was a fun little exercise to do, fun little thing to break down, see where teams are at, see what we're projecting, see the guys that we gotta kind of watch for early parts of next season to see how they are playing hockey. But that'll wrap it up for the 4th segment of the night. Wrap it up talking about the projected lineups for all 4 teams in the 4 Nations face-off. When I come back for my 4th and final break of the night, we will be giving the Calgary Flames season preview, continuing on with that series. Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Welcome back to the fifth and final segment of the night. We're not talking about the Four Nations face-off anymore. We are talking about the Calgary Flames giving the next up in the season preview. Unfortunately, I do look at cap friendly a lot for these season previews, looking at the contract breakdowns for each team. Cap friendly has shut down officially today, which is so sad. Rest in peace, capfriendly.com. Help me out a lot. You guys don't know how much I look into Cap Friendly on a daily basis for this podcast exclusively. So, unfortunately, the website is shut down. Disappointed now. But there are other means that we could go to. I'm not going to be talking about any contracts, unfortunately, because Cap Friendly is shut down. But I am just going to be talking about the Calgary Flames offseason moves, looking at their lines for next season, and just talking about how, as a whole, this team is going to be. The moves that they did this offseason. Well, they started this offseason with a blockbuster trade. It was giving the New Jersey Devils the goaltender that they've wanted for a very long time. Now they don't have Jacob Markstrom on their team. That was a big part of the last couple to few years in Calgary. They traded him away for Kevin Ball, a defenseman that's going to be on their team next season. And then the New Jersey Devils next year first-round pick. That is top 10 protected for the New Jersey Devils. I don't think the Flames have to worry about that. I think they knew that when they made the trade. The New Jersey Devils are going to be pretty good next season. They're not going to get a top 10 pick, and I might say that, and then they're going to flop, but whatever. So that's how they kicked off this offseason. And then another blockbuster trade. They sent Andrew Mangiapane to the Washington Capitals. Added to the Washington Capitals kind of retool for next season, kind of making them, helping them push them into a playoff contention spot again next season. That's kind of the direction that they're trying to go. Whether I agree with that direction or not, that is the direction they're going to go in. So they got a second round pick for next year back from Andrew Mangiapane. And then they made a draft night trade, gave the Flyers a 4th round pick for a 5th and 6th. Not too important. They did extend qualifying offers to all their players, and then they signed a couple of free agents to 2-way contracts and nothing else. They also signed Zane Parekh to an entry-level contract, also signed Etienne Martin to an entry-level contract. So for their lines for next season, what it looks like, it does not look too bad. However, this team is not going to be that good. And I think they know they're not going to be that good. I think they want to go into a rebuild, the Calgary Flames do, and next season is the start of it. Jonathan Huberdeau, Mikael Backlund, and Blake Coleman is their first line. Jonathan Huberdeau just had an absolute flop of last season, and actually, as I do all this, I do want to look up Calgary Flames' last year stats here, just so that, because, they did keep they kept a good amount of the same players. So it was Nazem Kadri that led the team in points. He's going to be on their third line for next season, third line center. But other guys that helped this team offensively, Blake Coleman had 30 goals, which is kind of a shock. I do expect him to regress. Jonathan Huberdeau, 52 points in 81 games, a -29. Mikael Backlund, 39 points in 82 games, a -4. This team's just not going to be that good next season, and it's not going to be too much of a shock when they aren't that good next season. Nazem Kadri is going to be pretty good. You knew he was going to be good, but that Florida trade kind of killed them. You trade away Matthew Tkachuk for Jonathan Huberdeau, basically 1-for-1, and Matthew Tkachuk became the better player. You expected more out of Jonathan Huberdeau, but you didn't get more out of him. So, what can you do? Connor Zary, Yegor Sharangovich, and Anthony Mantha is going to make up their second line. Connor Zary had 34 points in 63 games last season. That's not going to cut it on a second line. Yegor Sharangovich had 59 points in 82 games. That's pretty good. 31 goals, a -29. It's going to need to be tidied up if this team wants to win games. They don't want to win games. Anthony Mantha, who has always been a fourth line guy on any team he's been on is now on a second line. That's going to be a little bit difficult. That's not going to be too good. And then you have Martin Pospisil, Nazem Kadri, and Andrei Kuzmenko for their third line. Martin Pospisil just had 24 points in 63 games. It's not going to cut it. The other guy, I'm completely blanking on his name. Andrei Kuzmenko had 25 points in 29 games played. That's actually pretty good. That is a very healthy sign, especially for Andrei Kuzmenko, who I believe is only... no, he is 28 years old. That's kind of a shock then. Yeah. He played very well for the Calgary Flames after he got traded to that team midway through last season. But, yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the Calgary Flames for next season. I don't think that this team's going to look too good. You might have prospects like Matt Coronado coming up. But other than that, nothing too exciting here. They do get Zane Parekh, who a lot of guys might think that he might be a bust. Looking at the dev camp videos, his skating looked a little wonky at times. I would be a little bit concerned about that. I did have him lower than a lot of the defensemen on my mock drafts. I think I had him as one of the bottom defensemen. I definitely had him under Z Byam and Sam Dickinson, who he went above both of them, and Anton Silyev, who he went above as well. So I don't have too much faith. I don't think that the team's going to be too good. And then on top of that, their defense got way worse. Like, they lost some big guys. They lost from last season Nikita Zadorov, who played in 21 games for them. I believe they do have Mackenzie Weegar on their team still. But yeah, they lost some very key pieces to this core. I can't find all the defensemen here. But from last season to this season, the defensive core does not look even remotely the same. And I just would be a little bit concerned. I mean, they also lost Elias Lindholm halfway through the year, which they got way worse after he goes. I mean, ever since Johnny Gaudreau left to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2022, this team's been kind of on that downwards trajectory, and this is kind of the season that we're going to see it come to fruition. Their defensive core is Mackenzie Weegar, Daniil Miramonov, Kevin Ball, Rasmus Anderson, Jake Bean, Braden Paschal. That's really not good. And then their goaltending core is Dustin Wolf and Daniel Vladar. I just have no faith in this team. I'm not going to lie. This team's not going to be good next season. So where does that leave them in the Central? In the Pacific? Well, the Pacific, the good thing for the Flames is the Pacific has a bunch of bad teams, right? Like, the Kraken aren't going to be good, the Ducks aren't going to be good, the Sharks aren't going to be good, the Golden Knights have offloaded a lot of people, the Kings have offloaded a lot of people. The Pacific is kind of wide open. Doesn't mean they're going to be good. Like, they still have to contend in the West, and I would say that they are above the Sharks, below the Ducks, and finish 7th in the Pacific. I think they finish around 65 to 70 points. I'll get to where I think the Sharks will be, but I think 65 to 70 makes sense. I think they lose a lot of games this year. Lack of goaltending, lack of depth, lack of high-end scoring is just really not what you want to see. They were 81 points in 82 games played last year, and they got worse. So I don't have too much faith in the Calgary Flames. Of course, they can prove me wrong. Man, I've been proved wrong in the past. Nobody thought the 2017 Vegas Golden Knights were going to be as good as they were, and they ended up being fantastic. So I've been proven wrong in the past. I don't know if I'm going to be proven wrong on this one. I think I got them pinned pretty well. But that'll do it for the Calgary Flames season preview. Not too much to talk about them. They made some offseason moves, offloading a bunch of cap, offloading a bunch of people to go into rebuild mode. Now they're in rebuild mode. Let's see what goes forward for the Calgary Flames. They do have other guys that they could definitely offload in this offseason or over the course of next season, whether that's going to be Mackenzie Weegar or, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mikhail Backlund, other guys. all over this lineup can definitely go. So that'll wrap it up for the Calgary Flames season preview. When I come back, that'll wrap it up for this GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you all for your support throughout this show. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you leave make sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube. Rate us on whatever you are listening to this on, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcast. Thank you all for your support once again. If you would like to have more content and update from the GSMC Sports Network, you can follow us at the GSMC Sports Network on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to get more content and updates. But now, thank you guys once again for all your support and tuning in. Have a fantastic and wonderful evening, everybody.
Let's go.